Thank you. Happy to be back. Good to see you. Hope you had a good break. Wild and out of control, but thankfully they're not anywhere near us here. Um, but they're a bit full on. There's a lot going on. We've lost a lot of. I mean, your houses and a lot of obviously forest and things like that. So they're yeah, they're pretty devastating, unfortunately. Yeah, a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people talking about I suppose, the inaction on behalf of our government on doing anything. And I think I saw the other day that both Britain and the Netherlands are warning their citizens to not come and visit Australia, which hurts us in terms of tourism as well, especially because we just launched our big, come to Australia tourism campaign recently. So yeah, yeah, it would have been a bit unpleasant. Yeah, yeah. I mean, to give some perspective, the fires are very close to what is the not necessarily the middle of Sydney, but certainly very close to Sydney, and a lot of the smoke is blown over across the ditch to New Zealand as well. So yeah, it's not good. Yeah, 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 yeah. We can get some links up in the show notes for various charities that are helping out and the firefighters, because the majority of our firefighters are all volunteers. They're not paid, and we've had even the US and Canada have sent um, some of their fireys over to help us out here, and New Zealand as well. So yeah, anything that you can do, we'll definitely get some links in the show notes. It'd be good to get some help on the ground if you're able to. Well, now that the Roaring Twenties are in full swing and 2019 is in our rearview mirrors, it's a good time for us to share some of the stats and highlights from the last year. Um, we do want to thank everyone that makes the Laravel news site possible: the authors, the readers, the sponsors, the developers creating the packages, and everyone else that contributes to making Laravel news the best that it can be. And it's only really possible because of all these people. So we can't possibly show you all told how much we do appreciate all of the things that you do for the community out there. But on the Laravel news site, traffic continued to increase, and 2019 had the most visits that we've ever seen. A lot of this is because Laravel was continuing to grow throughout the world, and according to WordPress, which the site is backed by, the actual traffic is larger, but many developers run blockers and things like that for the trackers. But we're seeing somewhere in the order of 8 million visitors in 2019, which is incredible. Um, but besides the site traffic, the other channels have increased as well. The newsletter's continuing to gain subscribers. The podcast has gained listeners over 2019. So thank you very much to that from us. And we hope that in 2020 we can make everything even better. So there was a lot of new content and a lot of cool packages and resources and tutorials that came out over last year. There is a lot of stuff. Eric's put in some highlights all through 2019, so we'll link up in the show notes because there's literally dozens of articles in this. Yeah, so definitely go back and have a look at this at a high level if you're interested in seeing what was put out over 2019.
your Laravel application and are not caught bubble all the way up to this handler class, which is ships with Laravel, and that's where you kind of catch any of these exceptions that bubble up to that location. You'll have a lot of times a report method in there as well as a render method, I think is how that works, something like that. And this is a new method that's on that handler class called exception context, which will provide for you the context in which that error, that exception was thrown. And so that gives you the ability to then do additional logging with that exception context, which is helpful. The postmark transport, which is I think that's a mail thing, postmark transport, will now throw errors instead of failing silently. So nothing needs to change in the applications, but by updating to the 6.7 release, you'll get the benefit of the exceptions when postmark doesn't return a 200 status code. So previous to this update, it was just failing and not really doing anything with that. An important without relations method is now available on models. This allows unloading a model's relations in a queue job. So because loaded relationships also get serialized, so if you have a model where you've loaded up some relationships, you've done eager loading or something like that, the serialized job string can get really large. So when you're serializing that job, pushing it onto a queue, that can be problematic if you don't have enough room. So to prevent relations from being serialized, you can call the without relations method on the model when setting that property value. This method will return an instance of the model with no loaded relationships. So there's some code examples in this post that will kind of show you how to do that. It's quite simple, really. You just call without relations on that model that you're passing through, but you can take a look at that. You can also read through the updated queue documentation for more details. That's been updated. We also have a new method. Resource collections can now preserve query parameters on paginated API resources with this preserve query parameters method. So again, there is some code in the post here. I'm going to try and avoid reading that to you because it's not that complicated if you're reading it on the screen with your eyes, but to try and describe it to you on the air is going to be a little bit difficult. So if that sounds like a feature you're interested in, go ahead and take a look at the show notes for that. I think that about wraps up 6.7. Seems like a pretty feature-rich release there. That's awesome.
It's really good stuff. On there, yeah.
Yeah, really, seriously. I guess over the holidays they were really cranking it out.
Yeah,
that's what happens if you're with family and you're like, you know what, I got a couple minutes or whatever. Dude, I did. I was on vacation. I read like half a book. It was really good. Like it was the most recent Red Rising book. It was awesome. I caught a little flack for that because I was literally on, I was reading my book for half of our family vacation. It was a good book. It was worth it. Okay. We have 6.8. Why don't you talk to us about that one?
Absolutely. So the Laravel team released the minor version, 6.8, in the week of December 18th. Adding some useful test response updates along with the latest features, changes, and fixes. So Taylor implemented an array access on the JSON response object and test response object classes. Having array access is convenient if you want to get JSON data in a test or JSON response instance. Taylor summarized how this would be useful in the pull request, which is number 30817 for those of you interested. When building or testing an JSON API, I like to sometimes interact with the raw JSON payload returned in the response. Normally, you would have to access this via response, arrow, original, and then the foo key or whatever. However, with the new change, implementing array access on both the JSON response and test response in order to be able to proxy directly into the response JSON without going through the original property. So that just shortcuts that process without having to reach through a public property on the response object, which will make things a bit simpler in your tests. We also added the ability to use custom Markdown mail themes. So if you're creating a package, you can use custom Markdown mail themes in those. So you could reference that from a namespace object, for example, mailcoach : mails.layout.mailcoach, and you can access them in that namespace rather than having to vendor publish and all of that kind of stuff. We've also got nested support in assert view has. So the assertion has support for nested array checks where previously it did not.
Oh, nice.
We've got the ability to set an individual raw attribute on a model. So you can model arrow set raw attribute key and then value. And you can also sync to the original attribute with passing a third parameter, which is a Boolean true false. We've also got the force flag for artisan make controller. So similar to models, you can now force the creation of controllers with the make controller artisan command. Forcing is useful if you forget to use the -- resource flag and want to recreate the controller. So it saves that, we have to go and delete the controller and then recreate it again. So it's just taking that extra step out. You can also create a seed of the artisan make model artisan command now. Using the -- seed flag, the make model artisan command will create a seeder matching the model name. So you can see the full list of new features and updates in the link that we'll put in the show notes, and see the whole diff between versions 6.7 and 6.8 on GitHub. The full release notes for Laravel 6 are available in the GitHub v6 changelog, which we will link to in the show notes.
Two things. What do you think the set and individual raw attribute is? What is a raw attribute? What's the difference between just setting an attribute and setting a raw attribute? I'm not sure I understand.
Without looking at it, my guess would be that it would circumvent any model mutators that you've got.
That's it. That's got to be it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. That's what I was trying to figure. I was like, what is set raw attribute? So it just says, don't worry about any accessors, any mutators, any of that stuff. Just set, actually, it wouldn't be an accessor, it would be a mutator. But yeah.
Yeah. That's my guess.
That's smart. Yep. Good job. The mail coach thing, that seemed really interesting. How you can use custom markdown mail themes. I bet you that's something that Frake pushed in there because he needed it probably for mail coach. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Again, lots of stuff. Lots and lots of stuff going on here. That's awesome. Laravel team is cranking it out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Always, yes. We have got so we've got a couple packages we're going to talk about next. We've got Ably Broadcast, Eloquent has many, exchange rate package. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with the Ably Broadcast driver for Laravel. So many of you are likely using Pusher. So Pusher is a WebSocket service that is integrated quite neatly with Laravel. I don't know if I'd say it's like the default, but it works really easily. So it's set up in your Bootstrap file for your JavaScript. There's documentation that makes it very, very easy to do this. But Matthew Hall has added a support for the Ably real-time messaging service. So this is backed by the Ably PHP SDK that they have out there. And this package adds a custom Laravel broadcast driver. So you can use this as an alternative to Pusher, which is great. So we have more choices now when it comes to real-time messaging. And this process goes through, this tutorial here goes through the process of getting that set up. So I have not looked at the pricing really to see what the difference is. I'm interested to kind of take a look at it and see what the big differences are really between Ably and Pusher. But again, it's always nice to have options. So if that's something you're interested in taking a look at, find a link to that up in the show notes.
Cool. The next thing that we have here is an Eloquent Has Many Deep package, which is an extended version of Laravel Eloquent's Has Many Through, which allows relationships with unlimited intermediate models. It includes support for many-to-many and polymorphic relationships. As an example of how this package is useful, to pretend you have a setup where you want to get all comments for all posts by users in a specific country. It might look like, we've got a picture of an Eloquent relationship. So you've got a country has many users, the user has many posts, and the post has many comments. This can get a little bit complicated, but with the package, you can define the relationship quite simply with two parameters. So in your country, which is the first relationship, which has a many, you can say public function comments returns has many deep. The first parameter is app comment, so the comment class, which is ultimately the end model that you want to return, and that goes through app user and app post. So you can define that as an array in the second parameter, which makes things nice and easy. You can then call country first comments to get all the comments, which keeps the familiar Laravel syntax. Taking things a step further, Pavilas Kodop from Laravel Daily also created a video review covering the package. If you'd like to find out more, visit Staudenmeier/Eloquent has-many-deep on GitHub, and the README will contain the full documentation as well. And just on that, Jonas Staudenmeier does a lot of cool things. He's always very active in the Laravel framework repositories and in the issues and looking at pull requests and things like that. And he's got a really good understanding of how Eloquent works. Possibly even, I think Taylor said better than his understanding of it. So um, typically when he says something about Eloquent and releases something, it's something to keep an eye on. And we thank Jonas for all the hard work that he does behind and around the scenes.
This is really incredible, by the way. I've needed this so many times I can't even tell you. Um, I feel like maybe it's something that I'm doing to set things up wrong, but I have like a couple spots in a recent application I built where I have users that have participants that have applications that have like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, funds or donations or something like that. And it's like a lot of times I need to be able to get at it from or like a group that has a user that has a participant that has a fund, right? So I need to be able to figure out like how many funds or how much funds has a group raised, and it's very difficult to get from one all the way down to those. So I have immediate use for this. My my curiosity about this is whether or not Nova would be able to use something like this. I don't know, but I'm interested. So that'd kind of be the next question I have. But I will figure it out because I'm definitely gonna have to use this.
Only one way
Even
to
if
find out.
exactly. So very cool. That's awesome. Okay, we have this exchange rate package which I am looking for here, and I'm having a hard time finding it. There it is. Laravel Exchange Rates API package. So this is a package by Ash Allen for interacting with the Exchange Rates API. The Exchange Rates API.io API. So this API provides the latest exchange rate data as well as historical rates. You can imagine how if you're dealing with exchange rates, these change quite frequently. This is not something that you're going to be able to store in a database and reference. It's going to have to be up-to-date information. This also, again, provides historical rates. So if you needed to go back to a previous time to do comparisons, you can do that with this API as well. So there's a couple. It seems like the API is really friendly. So you have new exchange rate, and then you can call currencies on that. You can call an exchange rate between two different types of currencies. You can pass in the two different types of currencies as well as the time that you want to check it at, and then it will do the conversions for you as well. So you can tell it to convert, and then you can give a currency amount, the original currency, the currency you want to convert it to, and the time at which you needed the exchange rates for. So it seems really, really helpful for if this is something that you ever have to do. So definitely check that one out. All right, we have the, what's the next one? You know what? Your little image that you sent me cut off the tab there. I have Laravel package, nothing.
So Laravel package to work with paddle.com. So Laravel Paddle is a package by Pascal Baljed for working with paddle.com. The package provides a wrapper around their API with built-in support for webhooks and event handling. The README has an example of working with the Paddle facade via Fluent API and arrays, but it's nice and readable as you would expect. So you can go paddle : product, generate pay link, product ID, customer email, pass through, send, etc., etc., etc. So paddle.com is a platform or is a payment provider that allows you to handle things like taxes and other region-specific taxes. It's really popular, I think, in Europe because their tax laws and purchasing of online goods requirements are a little more finicky than it's not just even we've got the same thing here now. If an American company sells something to an Australian, then we have to be charged goods and services tax on that. So the internet has complicated a lot of these things. So it's pretty smart to use a payment provider like Paddle to handle all of that nitty gritty stuff for you, so you don't have to worry about building it. Especially if you're a serial producer of applications, you don't want to have to build all that stuff every single time. So definitely check that out if you are, I suppose, in the EU, but also anywhere. I've seen a few people. I think Marcel is using Paddle, and the name of the person escapes me. They wrote to pingping.io. They've been using that as well, and that's obviously made things easier for them. And in terms of us as subscribers, you just go and buy your thing and off you go. So Stefan Bauer. Stefan Bauer. So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty popular. I think. I guess they're based out of the EU as well. So paddle.com, but definitely check out this package, which we will link to in the show notes.
Um, yeah, actually, I was gonna say the other one that I could think of that uses a paddle is Sizzy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it? Or is it Sizzy?
Sizzy.
I think it's
I say
Sizzy.
Sizzy.
Yeah, I say Sizzy as well. But they use paddle too,
Mm.
so that's pretty cool. Nice. Speaking of, I don't know, how do I do this? Speaking of Sizzy, nope.
Speaking of
Speaking of paddle,
e-commerce,
there we go. There we go. Let's do that. Speaking of e-commerce, so the sponsor that we have this week is About You. So About You has actually decided to sponsor the next 6 shows for us. So they are very serious about making sure that the word gets out there. They are the fastest growing e-commerce company in Europe. So their headquarters is located in Hamburg, Germany. They have over 8 million app installs, 15 million active users on their platform, and over 300 million API calls a day. They have a company valuation of more than $100 million, actually $1 billion US, and it looks like 1/3 of their employees are developers. They are looking to hire more of them, and they have a passion to develop the best product on the market. The award-winning organization model, Move, allows developers to switch teams, which ensures lifelong learning. And it's About You has built its software in-house using Laravel, Node, TypeScript, Vue, React, and some more recent technologies like Flutter. So besides a variety of free drinks, fresh fruits, they also offer free language courses and relocation if you move from abroad. They also have their own organized conference, Code.Talks, which is one of the biggest tech conferences in Europe. You have a choice between your hardware setups. You can get a Mac, a Windows, Linux, whatever kind of IDE you'd like to work with. And there are vacancies currently for a full stack developer, front-end developer, Dart, Flutter developer, a quality assurance engineer, project manager, and other exciting leadership positions if you're looking for a job.
yeah,
So thank you so much to them for sponsoring. You can find out more about this wonderful company at aboutyou.com/hiring. Is it hiring?
yeah,
There we
yes,
go.
yeah. It looks the stuff that they're doing and of the positions they've got. I think the majority of them are in Hamburg in Germany, so probably easier for folks that are in Europe. But if you're interested in moving from the US to try something new, Hamburg, Germany is where most of their positions are. There's a couple in Lüneburg, but yeah, definitely something worth checking out if you're interested in trying out a new gig. Definitely get in touch. And thanks to About You for sponsoring the show.
Yeah, the other thing that I saw that I was really interested in when I looked at their stuff is that their developer page. So it's kind of skimmed over in what they asked us to talk about, but they have this organizational model called Move, which you can tell they've put a ton of time and thought into, and they've got an entire little animated video explaining their philosophy for how they treat their developers, which is really interesting. So they basically have these little pods of people, and you can kind of decide which team you'd like to be on, and you can stay on that team for as long as you'd like. You can stay in that team and kind of become an expert in one technology, or if you kind of get bored with it, you can jump to other teams and learn different technologies. And as was listed, they have quite a few different ones. Laravel, Node, TypeScript, Vue, React, Flutter. They've got lots of different stuff to learn. So that was very interesting to me. I know as developers, that's something we love to do, is play with new technology, and it seems like they really kind of offer that as an option for you. So really interesting stuff. Seems like a great company. So definitely worth a look.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I also have is I have promo codes. For FBAR2.
There you go.
Should we give one away?
Go on.
Okay, here it is. D34F1764. That is a promo code for a free FBAR2 license. Thanks to Jan Oostland, I think is his name, who creates FBAR. FBAR is an amazing tool, by the way. If you've never heard of it, it helps to monitor all of your Forge servers and allows you to be able to manage them really easily. So Yeah, there you go. There's a free license. I've got another one I'll give away at the end of the show. How about
Yeah,
that?
sounds good. Hey, I
Sweet.
don't know. Maybe Jan can explain this to me. You said you've got a license for FBAR 2, but I'm running FBAR version 4, so who knows?
That's what it is. It's probably FBAR version 4.
Who knows what's
Let me
going
see.
on
Let me
here?
look at mine. Yep, it's for version 4. It's the latest one. Whatever the latest one is, that's the one it's for.
Hey, seeing as we've been talking about finance and e-commerce, Creator is an open source Laravel invoicing app. It's built for freelancers and small businesses. It's made with Laravel 6, Vue.js, and Bootstrap 4, and its core features include invoices, estimates, payment tracking, expenses, reporting, and taxes. Along with these features, Creator has a dashboard that summarizes things like sales and expenses, invoices due, and recent estimates. It also provides a mobile app that works with your self-hosted Creator app. And at the time of writing, Creator has an Android app with an iOS version in the works, which is backwards to the way things usually work out in terms of mobile apps. There's end user documentation and setup instructions on docs.creatorapp.com. And if you'd like reference the source code, if you'd like to reference the source code, check out ByteFury, BYTEFURY/Creator on GitHub. There's plenty of real world Laravel and Vue.js code that you can reference in there. So definitely check that out. There will be a link in the show notes.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I love seeing these sorts of like fully featured, sort of thought through pieces available in GitHub, because it's a great way to see how other developers are writing good code. Now, I've not viewed the product, so I actually don't know if it's great code. I'm sure it is though. But that's always really interesting to see somebody who's taken not just the Laravel framework,
Yeah.
and we get to see the Laravel framework all the time, of course, but like who's actually taken and developed a thing and then just released it open source
Yeah.
for everybody to take a look at. That's pretty cool.
Do you know what I like? Just
Speaking,
very quickly
yeah,
looking
tell
at
me.
the GitHub repo, all of the models are sitting in the app directory.
Ooh, yeah. That's brave. That's a brave choice, right? I mean, it's the default, right? But it's like a lot of people, once it gets to a certain size, they start pushing them into a models folder or
They've
whatever.
got like 20 models here, which feels okay to me in terms of
Yeah,
how many models can sit in the app directory.
yeah. I'm gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna take a look about it a little bit later. Speaking of the same, like on the very same path that we're talking about, we have this other Laravel powered platform, which is called Canvas. So Canvas is a Laravel powered publishing platform. So we covered this actually back in 2017. 3 years ago. But there's a new version out, and Paul Redmond has taken a look at this, and he thought the latest version deserved a fresh look. So here's some of the new interesting features that the latest version of Canvas offers. So starting off at the top, we have a medium style editing experience, and includes other cool features like publication statistics. So this is like a lightweight version of Google Analytics that's actually built into the app. So you don't have to rely on Google Analytics to do the managing of your statistics. And also, if somebody's using something like Ghostery or AdBlock Plus or something, a lot of times Google Analytics just doesn't show up anyway, right? It just kind of blocks those right off the bat. So having the publication stats built right in kind of is pretty nice. Distraction-free writing. So the editor, as we said, is a medium-style, minimal experience. There's Unsplash integration. If you don't know what Unsplash is, it's like a free stock image site. So instead of having to go out separately, go find an Unsplash image and then drag it in, you can do it straight from within the content editor. So it can embed images, videos, links, or media to your content. It has custom social data. So if you've done anything with social data, and a lot of times in the header of the page, you'll have different OG tags or metadata. So it has those for Facebook and Twitter baked in. It's a really simple install. You install Laravel and the auth scaffolding, then the Canvas Composer package, and you can start writing content complete with autosave and the minimal interface nearly right away. So you can even generate some demo data right out of the box by calling PHP Artisan Canvas setup dash data. And you can learn more about this at cnvs.io. So if that's something that you're interested in, kind of a blogging platform that is free and built on Laravel, check out Canvas. Very
Nice.
cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We mentioned paddle.com and Marcel Possiot earlier, and for those of you who aren't aware, he has been working on this application called Tinkerweb, which up until now, or up until a few weeks ago, was a macOS application. But Marcel released a web version of Tinkerbell which allows you to run PHP and Laravel code right in your browser. It's packed with code snippets from the Laravel documentation and makes learning Laravel easier than ever before. You can tinker with code, you can save snippets, and you can share them with others. The web version provides some of the features found in the Tinkerbell app, including a HTTP and CLI session. You can also save your code and share it with others via a public URL. Under the hood, the web version of Tinkerbell is using PHP compiled to WebAssembly. So PHP is actually running in the browser. You can even access an in-memory SQLite database. So you can start creating Tinkerwell sessions online now at web.tinkerwell.app. And if you missed the Tinkerwell desktop app announcement, we will have a link to that in the show notes. You can check out the full and complete Tinkerwell experience.
This is pretty amazing. So think of it like Figma, right? Kind of it's how it's been compiled. So Figma was compiled down to C or whatever it was, so it can run in your browser. I think he did the exact same thing. I think, what is it, WebAssembly? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
He used WebAssembly to compile this down so you can run in your browser. And the thing that I thought was really cool is it kind of has that in-memory SQLite database that it's using behind the scenes. That's incredible.
Yeah, you could just
that really is incredible.
Just build an app and just like start tinkering with stuff.
Yeah.
Right there in the browser. If you wanted to show someone something, or if you're putting a response up to someone on Laracast or Laravel.io, for example, you could just put it all together there, and then you can hand over that code and see that it's running and then it's working properly to whoever via the public URL. So super handy. I'm not sure what the limitations on using the web version are as compared to the standalone Mac application, but it sounds like it's going to get you a good way of the way to sharing code and whatever there.
Yeah, it's I use Tinkerwell every day, the actual desktop application, every day since I've gotten it. I've used it, so I'm always like, oh, I got to. Oh, wait, I have Tinkerwell, and I use it, pop it open all the time. Yeah, very cool. Okay, we have this Shift blueprint that we're going to be talking about as soon as I can find it. Here it is. Okay. So Laravel Shift, which is ran by Jason McCreary, has so Jason's been working on this thing called Blueprint. So Blueprint is an open source tool for rapidly generating multiple Laravel components from a single human readable definition. So you say, we already have this. We can just do this from the command line. We say PHP artisan make model --c -- controller -- factory blah 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 whatever, right? The problem is that you don't have a YAML file that contains the definitions of the components that should generate, and this does some additional magic on top of that. So the README provides an example draft.yaml file in the root of a Laravel version 6 project. And in there you have models, and then you have post, title, string, 400, that's the max length, content, long text, publish at, nullable timestamp. So you have these different, in addition to saying here's what the name of the model is going to be, you actually define the different fields right in there. And what that allows this tool to do is it allows it to set up all of your relationships for you in the model. It allows you to set up a migration for it. It also allows it to create a default factory that has in place automatic faker, basically autofills, right, for what that factory should look like. It also will handle relationships, I believe, for you. So if you tell it that post has comments or something like that, I think it automatically knows to kind of build those relationships in there. So this is really, really interesting. So it says the draft file produces a post model with fillable fields, attribute casts, dates, relationships, and there's a massive list of examples in the project's README. Jason also has a little video. It's just a couple minutes long, I believe, about the what Blueprint does for you. And so you can learn more about this package at Laravel-shift/blueprint on GitHub.
Yeah.
Great work, Jason. Thanks, man.
Not just like scaffolding out your models and creating your migration files, but you can also get it to do your controllers, and it'll automatically handle, creating a post controller and giving you the index and showing you all of the response returned, and even going so far as to generate code to validate, to save the post to the database, to dispatch notifications and events, and do redirects with Flash things. So from this single draft.yaml file, you're basically scaffolding out a model, a migration, a controller, and not only the files themselves, but also a lot of the boilerplate code to get you most of the way there. So if you're just churning out a lot of crud applications, if you're doing that kind of freelance work, this is going to save you so much time. So thanks heaps to JMac for putting this together and getting it out there and releasing it as a free and open source bit of software. So definitely check out the project and the video for more information.
Wow, dude, I did not realize this. He can create models, migrations, factories, a controller, the routes, a form request, a mailable class, a job class, an event class, a blade template. I mean, literally, it does the entire thing.
Yeah,
It
it's out of
does the
control.
entire thing. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So obviously, like you would use this up front. This is I don't know if this is something you could like integrate. You can probably integrate if you're creating something new, like a new feature that's going to require a new model, right?
Yeah.
But you're obviously going to have to eject from this after it scaffolds everything for you. But I don't know you want to use it like after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So
No, it gets you a long way of the way there though.
yeah, that's incredible. Wow, nice. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, we then have a package called 5 Ways of Battling. If I can find it, my gosh, I know I'm all over the place trying to do this stuff here. Here it is. 5 ways of. It's just an article.
Yeah.
It's just an article. 5 ways of battling form spam. So if you've had this happen before, whether it be it really could be in any number of places, right? It could be email signups, it could be comment threads, it could be all sorts of stuff like that. So Eric Barnes, our fearless leader, has dealt with this a lot of times. So once you've created an application, sooner or later you're going to have to deal with a spam bot. This is inevitable. It's part of being on the internet. So Eric says one of his projects, the registration form got hit, and he ended up with 17,000 fake users, which is a massive pain to clean up, as you can imagine. So as part of this process, he asked people on Twitter how they're fighting bots, and he had a massive response with a lot of great ideas. So this blog post sort of summarizes the ones that were mentioned. So the first one mentioned is Cloudflare. So you can utilize their page rules, set up if you're using a service like Cloudflare, you can utilize their page rules to lock the URL with form submissions down. It doesn't necessarily work as well as the others, but it's a quick implementation. So if you're already using Cloudflare, you can check that out. Another one, which is interesting, which I've heard about before, but I've never implemented it myself, is called a honeypot. So this is a first line defense. It's really easy to set up, and there's actually a package out there that Spatie has made for it, Spatie/Laravel-honeypot, to make integration a breeze. So this is what this basically does is there's a hidden field that humans won't see, but bots will see, and you trick the bot into filling that out. If that's filled out, it's a bot that filled it, and you just reject that registration or whatever it might be. Again, Spatie has a package that makes that quite easy. You can validate emails. So there is a service that you can use, Identibyte, I think is one of them, that will validate the email through their API. This saves the hassle of making users go through the extra steps to actually go validate their email in their email box. You also have CAPTCHA. There's an invisible reCAPTCHA now by Google, which is probably the best CAPTCHA option. So this just says using, I think, machine learning or something like that, because that's what Google does. Is this a machine that is on the page, or is this, in fact, a human? So you can check that out. There is also dedicated spam services. So Akismet by WordPress and Stop Form Spam. Stop Form Spam is free. Akismet is paid. And there's actually a Laravel package for Akismet as well. So you can just integrate it into your Laravel installation. So that's at nickhertz/Laravel-Akismet. And we'll, of course, have that up in the show notes. So if form spam is something you're dealing with or thinking you're going to have to deal with, check out these resources. And certainly one of them should hopefully be able to help you along in your battle.
Yeah. The honeypot is definitely a good place to start. I think the Cloudflare thing, not super effective, but it's easy to spin up if you're already there. But the honeypot's a good place to start, and if that fails, continue through the other options.
And it's free.
You've basically stopped the bots from attacking your forms. But just remember, with spam and things like that, what works today doesn't necessarily work tomorrow. So it's going to be a constant battle as spammers and their bots and whatever get smarter and start working around things. But keeps things interesting, I guess.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. Okay, I think we've got one left here.
Yeah, the last thing that we have here is the formal announcement at the end of November, early December, that Laracon 8 is coming to Atlanta in 2020.
Woo-hoo.
It will be the 28th and 29th of July at the Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, where you can learn Laravel, you can high-five Taylor Rightwell, and mingle with hundreds of Laravel developers. I think the list to sign up to get tickets are well underway. I think Taylor has sent out the first wave of. I'm going to be honest. I didn't bother signing up because I'm not going this year, so I didn't want to get depressed getting emails.
Bro.
No, it'll probably be a little while before I make it back, unfortunately. But
I understand. I do understand.
Laracon is a 2-day conference, as I said, on the 28th and 29th of July at the Georgia Aquarium in downtown Atlanta. With hundreds of Laravel enthusiasts, this is almost the best conference to hear Laravel focused talks. Obviously, I won't be there, so
not the best,
not
of
the
course.
best
Laracon
Laravel
AU
conference.
may be better. I don't know.
Laravel usually consists of the main track. It's a single track conference typically, with talks ranging from 20 to 40 minutes. I think the 30-minute talks last year for all of the Laracons was pretty much a great success. Everyone was pretty happy with that.
It was amazing. It was,
and
yeah.
there will be plenty of chances to mingle with the developers, obviously, and there'll be epic after parties. Taylor always puts on a great show. The Georgia Aquarium itself is the largest aquarium in the Western Hemisphere with over 10 million US gallons. It's home to thousands of animals, including a whale shark, and you can check out the visit information for further details about the venue, but it is near plenty of hotel options, which should make this conference both affordable and accessible. And the Atlanta airport is the biggest hub for airlines and has direct flights from most everywhere domestically and is known as an international gateway to the United States. Obviously, as more information becomes available, it will be published on Twitter by Taylor, by the Laracon US, at Laracon US Twitter handle, and on the laracon.us website. Venue details, speaker announcements, and any other relevant details related to the conference will all be published there. If you want to see a small sample of what Laracon is like, be sure to check out the talks and the photos from Laracon US 2019, which we will link to in the show notes. On Laracon and talks, just to hijack Laracon US, the talks from Laracon AU will be published this week. Let's say this week.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see those. That'll be great. These tickets are like a first come first serve sort of thing. So if you haven't gotten on that email list yet, you should definitely do that. They sell out every year. So make sure you get on that list, and then as soon as you get that email, make sure you're ready to purchase those. That might be a little bit like too, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit paranoid, but that's what I always do. Like as soon as I get that email, I'm like, boom, because you never know. You just never know. Every year it's getting more and more popular.
And flights and accommodation like 3 days before you have to go.
Exactly. Right. You got it. Also, I heard that you're going to be able to see the aquarium stuff during the talks. Like we're right there.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's
in the
an
aquarium.
exclusive-ish hire. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions, but look, let's not talk about it anymore.
Poor Michael. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up an iPad on one of those little roving little things, and then you can just move around and talk to people.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. How great would that be?
That'd be the easiest way of doing it.
Okay, I think we should. It's going to be like 2 a.m, and you'll just be like, totally trashed in Australia, but no big deal. No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all of it, right?
That's all the things.
That's all of it. That's all the things. We also have another FBAR code to give away. Here it is. BDF0BB1D. And because I'm feeling really generous, here's another one. 11C58D4F. There you go, everybody. Enjoy FBAR. And thanks to Jan Usland for giving us those. He's a great guy. Definitely support him if you get a chance. Yeah, thanks, Jan. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. Episode 109. It's good to be back. Glad to be able to hang out with you all again. If you like this episode, please feel free to rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars is always very appreciated. We'd love to hear some feedback from you on there. You can find show notes for this episode at laravel-news.com/podcast/109. And of course, if you have any feedback or questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at Jacob Bennett, at Michael Dorinda, or at Laravel News. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today. Hopefully, we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.